Yesterday, Congress unveiled their spending package that is expected to pass, and it's expected the president will sign it into law this week. And in that spending package are some pretty significant changes to 401k plans. That's what we're going to cover in today's video. Hey everybody, my name is Rob Berger. This is the Financial Freedom Show, where we talk about investing and retirement and financial freedom. If those topics are of interest to you, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I also send out a newsletter every Sunday morning. You can subscribe to that with the link below this video. So I'm going to walk through those changes. I've got my morning cup of coffee, which I needed to kind of get through all of these. They're pretty significant, actually. And they affect high income earners. They affect low income earners. And so let's just get right to it. And as we go through these, keep one thing in mind. Federal legislation that affects money, that affects the budget, spending, the debt, deficit, those sorts of things, go through some tests, some sort of protocols. And what they look at is how the legislation will affect the budget over the next 10 years. Not the next 11. They don't care what happens in year 11. It's just the first 10 years. And we'll actually see that in play. It affects the legislation that gets passed. We're going to see that today. By the way, the backdoor Roth, that actually exists because it helped them satisfy that 10-year budget period requirement in legislation many years ago. Otherwise, frankly, the backdoor Roth doesn't make any sense at all. In any event, we're going to see that at play here. And actually, we'll see it with the very first significant change we're going to talk about, and that is a change to the required minimum distribution age. Remember, it used to be 70 and a half, and then it went to 72. Well, under this legislation, next year, 2023, it will go up 1 year to 73. And then 10 years from now, there we go, this is to get us around this budgetary issue. In 2033, it will jump to 75. Now, for a lot of folks, that doesn't going to affect a big change. About 80% of folks at the RMD age take out at least the RMD amount, if not more, for spending. But 20% don't. And for a lot of you, it could help you extend the time you have to do Roth conversions. Now, keep something in mind. At age 75, your RMD will be higher than it would be at 72. So every year we get older, that puts us a little bit closer to life expectancy end, and that's what's used to calculate the RMD. So bear that in mind. I think 75 gives us a lot more flexibility than say 72 or even 73. But if we didn't do any Roth conversions, we just let our money build up, which may be the reasonable thing to do. Keep in mind your RMDs will be higher at age 75 than they would be if you started taking money out at 72. All right, that's the first big change. The next two changes deal with automatic enrollment. So here's the deal. A lot of 401ks automatically enroll new employees into their 401k. Of course, you can then say, no, I want out and actually opt out. But that's what you have to do for these automatic enrollment plans. Well, starting in 2025 under the bill, automatic enrollment will actually be required for new 401k plans, not existing plans and not plans for employers that say have only 10 or fewer employees. But for new 401k plans, starting in 2025, they will be required, and the amount of the contribution will be anywhere from 3 to 10% of the employee's salary, and they'll be required raises of 1% a year until the contribution gets to 10 or to between 10 and 15% of the individual's salary or income. Now, of course, the individual can always opt out. That hasn't changed, but this automatic enrollment will be required for new 401ks. The other automatic enrollment, and something that many of you may not have heard about, is there's an emergency savings part of a 401k that employers can adopt. It goes into a Roth 401k, and employers will be able to automatically enroll employees into that part of the 401k as well. There's a limit up to $2,500, but it allows people to sort of take advantage of an employer match who couldn't otherwise save for retirement. They might be able to save into this, sort of special part of a Roth 401k for emergencies, and that savings would allow then the employer to give them matching contributions. Important, those matching contributions don't go into this emergency savings part of the 401k. They actually go into the retirement sort of standard part of a 401k. So that's important to keep in mind, but automatic enrollment will be allowed for these Roth 401k emergency savings as well. The next change, starting in 2024, there will be no required minimum distributions for Roth 401ks. I guess that's a big change, perhaps. I mean, I think most folks probably just avoid the RMDs required in a Roth 401k by rolling it over into a Roth IRA. But I guess in 2024, you wouldn't have to do that. So that's another pretty big change. All right. The next one is kind of interesting. It's a 529 rollover to a Roth IRA. It'll be permitted up to $35,000. But it is subject to the annual Roth IRA contribution limits, and accounts must be in existence for 15 years. So I don't know how many folks, will actually benefit from that, but there you go. That's another big change. The next one is they are going to expand penalty-free withdrawals for folks that, for example, are terminally ill, and there's others, but they are going to expand those types of withdrawals that can be made penalty-free. In 2025, part-time workers will be able to participate in a 401k plan sooner. Right now, you have to be there for 3 years. Starting in 2025, they're going to reduce that to 2 years. So that's important for part-time workers. Now, in 2024, big change if you have student loans. Student loan payments starting in 2024 will count as retirement contributions for purposes of the employer match. So the idea here is, maybe your employer matches 401k contributions. You'd love to take advantage of that, but you've got a lot of student loans and you just feel like that should be your priority. So you're putting your extra money towards those student loan payments. Well, in 2024, those can count as, we'll call it air quotes, retirement contributions, and your employer can actually base their matching contributions on the amount you pay towards your student loan. So I think that's a very helpful change for folks still paying off student loans. Now, the last two, they're both big. The first one is, we talk about matching contributions that come from the employer. Well, starting in 2027, guess who's going to offer up to $1,000 in contributions, matching contributions? That's right, the federal government. Now, of course, this won't apply to everyone. From what I've read, it applies to folks with incomes up to $71,000, but there will be a potential for federal contribution of $1,000. And then the last one that I've sort of marked as significant that we're going to cover today are catch-up contributions. These are for folks, like me, 50 and older, where you can put more money into a 401k. Well, in 2025, again, they delay this in part because of the impacts it has on that whole 10-year budget thing. That's why a lot of these changes don't start right away. They delay them the years that they need to so that they can satisfy that 10-year budget requirement. In any event, in 2025, those who are 60 to 63, all right, 60 to 63, can make a catch-up contribution of $10,000 or 50% more than whatever the standard catch-up contribution is that year, whichever is greater. Remember, the catch-up contribution is adjusted for inflation, so we don't actually know what it's going to be in 2025. But come 2025, those 60 to 63 can do a catch-up of at least $10,000 or 50% more than whatever the standard catch-up contribution is that year, whichever is greater. And then there's sort of another one. In 2024, those with $145,000 of income or more who make a catch-up contribution to their 401k, you ready for this? Have to make it in a Roth 401k. You can't make it in a traditional 401k. Let me repeat that. I know it's all confusing, right? 2024, if you make $145,000 or more in income, and I wonder if that number will change or it's adjusted for inflation, but right now, $145,000 or more in income, and you make a catch-up contribution to your 401k at work, that catch-up contribution must go to a Roth. It can't go to a traditional. And again, it seems like an odd requirement. Why is that? Well, remember, Roth 401k contributions are after tax, which means the government will collect their money when you make that catch-up contribution. Say hello to that 10-year whole budgeting thing. That's all that is. That's why that provision exists. It's a goofy provision that's really nonsensical in my view, but they're doing it so that this legislation can satisfy the 10-year rule, but it's important to know because I know a lot of you make more than $145,000. You're making catch-up contributions. In 2024, you're going to have to make them to a Roth 401k. I know I've thrown a lot at you. I'm going to actually link to a couple of articles that go through all of these changes. They are expecting this bill to pass, and even this week, so we'll see. But there you go. Those are some of the big changes coming to 401k plans near you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to help you out any way I can. And until next time, remember, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom.